Ever since I was in kindergarten, up until now, I've had two somewhat toxic friends. We all live in different areas now, so we don't see each other as much as we used to. But ever since elementary school, until our early 20s, we always hung out. When we graduated from high school, we often got together in the one car and drove around the city. We weren't going anywhere in particular, nor were we looking for something to do. We just drove around chatting. Every time we saw a girl we liked, "Hey, isn't she cute?" She's not cute at all." We'd say stuff like that. That was pretty much all we did. But even so, it was still pretty fun. At the time, even just going for a drive was a big event for us. But it wasn't fun to keep driving around the same areas. So sometimes we went all the way over to the next city too. We would patrol the city. We called our trips to neighbouring cities expeditions. And first thing we did when we got together would be to say, "So, where are we patrolling today? Or are we going to go on an expedition?" This was generally how our conversations went. One cold winter's day, we decided to go out on an expedition. It was one of the rare times we had a destination in mind. We decided to visit the observatory on a hill in the next town over. It was usually just full of couples, so for 3 guys to go together, it would feel like we were being punished for losing a game or something. So, at that point, you'd just leave, right? But nobody seemed to have noticed that. And we chatted as we drove over. Perhaps one of them knew the way, and that was the only reason we were going. And there was no other real goal in mind. But when we started to actually drive there, we constantly got lost and never found our way there. As we drove around, we found ourselves on a lonely mountain road and finally arrived at an abandoned lot overgrown with grass. Several abandoned cars sat in the corner of the lot, but there was nobody there other than us. It was a place with a great view, and it was still only evening, so we could see quite well into the distance. "I have no idea where we are anymore, so this place should do just fine, right?" we said. And among the abandoned cars, we found a rusty old kindergarten bus. While going on drives, we often saw abandoned cars and such, but this was the first time we'd ever seen an abandoned kindergarten bus. Curious, we approached it. There were pictures of rabbits and foxes on the side, as well as the name of the school. And the door was open. We went inside, and the small size and height of the chairs surprised us, and at the same time filled us with a strange, off-putting feeling. That bus looked an awful lot like the one we used to ride when we were kids. I used to sit somewhere around here. And there was that guy who always wet himself in the back seat. Ignoring my friends reminiscing, I sat in the driver's seat. "So it is a manual," I said, and started playing around with the controls. Before long, I realized it was oddly quiet inside the bus. Thinking they'd already left, I turned around, and the 2 of them had squished themselves into different seats. But something about them seemed strange. Their heads seemed to bend backwards as they sat, almost like they were sleeping. Looking closer, the two of them were trembling. I rushed over to them and tried to shake them awake, but they didn't respond. They seemed to be passed out. At first, I thought they might be trying to scare me, but that didn't seem to be it. They really seemed to be in trouble, so I slapped both of them on the cheek. One friend suddenly woke up, and as he lifted his head, he suddenly threw up. I quickly did the same to my other friend. As I kept slapping his cheek, he eventually woke up. Tears poured from his eyes, and he grabbed his head. "What happened?" I screamed, but they ignored me. The two stood on shaky legs and left the bus. I followed them out. The two were quite shaken and walked on trembling legs. They got into the car and I said I'd drive. I just wanted to get away from there as quickly as possible. I gripped the steering wheel. I asked the pair what happened again. But all they did was tremble. Their teeth clattered and they refused to answer. They were completely different to how they'd been on the way in. And the only thing I could hear was their teeth chattering inside the car. It was creepy. Something terrible had happened to them, no doubt about it. And I was pretty scared too. We descended the mountain, and when we finally reached the city, full of crowds of people, the two of them finally started to talk. But what they said, seemingly checking with each other that they were on the same page as they spoke, made absolutely no sense to me. "Hey, did you see it too?" "I did." "I mean, I saw it, but I was that boy." "Huh? That last kid?" "Me too." "What the hell was that? Why did it happen?" They trembled as they spoke. I had no idea what they were saying. I grew angry as I listened. "What the hell, man? What on earth happened?" The two of them said they'd tell me, but first we should go somewhere else. We went to a family restaurant, and the two of them spoke quietly. They told me the following story. When they sat down in those children's seats, the two of them passed out and then experienced the same thing. And, they said, they feared that it actually happened. When they came to, they were on the bus and it was moving. There was a small child on the bus. There were lots of other kids too, and two supervising teachers. The bus was full of the voices of children, as well as the teachers dealing with them. But for some reason, that child couldn't help but be afraid. Each time the bus stopped for their mothers to pick the children up, that fear grew larger and larger. The number of children in the bus gradually decreased. And when the bus stopped 30 minutes later to let the children off, that child was trembling. Then, as the children got off the bus, it was just that child, the teachers, and the bus driver left. One of the teachers sat next to the child and said, "Hey, what are you supposed to do when the teacher sits next to you?" Continued in part 2.